Good morning and welcome. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host, and I'm here to fight the child protection system and keep your children. It's so important to keep the family intact. The child protection system, which I call CPS, I know it's different names in different states around the world and so forth, but this is a live podcast that is broadcast on YouTube, and we're using this StreamYard application. I'm broadcasting this live from Surf City, USA, in California. I'm at Starbucks. Outside, it's a foggy morning, and the weather is comfortable. Isn't like some of the other places you guys have because we have something called the Pacific Ocean. It works like an ice tray. When winds blow, it blows across the ocean, and it's cool air that rushes up to keep our bodies and homes nice and cool. And I know it's hot everywhere else, so there's no question about that. Now, this is broadcast. You found me on Facebook. It's a worldwide broadcast. Not only are people watching this in the United States, anyone that has Facebook anywhere in the world can see this podcast right now. It's live. And so far, I've had about 13 countries that have texted in about the CPS in their country. I've had over in the Far East, I've had Bangladesh, and then I've had India, New Delhi, India. That I've had the kind of Africa. I've had several countries there. I've had one of the provinces of South Africa, and then Mozambique, which is above it. It's on the east side of Africa, opposite from Madagascar, the island Madagascar. And then I've had Rwanda, which is in Central East Africa, and it's near Lake Victoria. Rwanda was a very terrible place where over 1 million people were slaughtered, murdered. It was a civil unrest time in 1994, and it was all about, I guess, I don't know, economics or someone wanted to take power, but it certainly wasn't over religion or color because everybody's the same color. So I'm still studying it. I'm still trying to understand it. But in the process, a 500,000 females were raped. And that is way too atrocious. It was so bad. They're purposely trying to kill off the population by having people infected with AIDS, and it was sickening. It was a really sad time there. But they've texted in some comments too, so I'm glad to hear from them. I'm glad to see the country is back alive and thriving. Then we go over to North Africa on the west coast, a country called Liberia, and Liberia is a it has been a regular person that calls in all the time. Liberia, a guy named Archie, and he has called in several times or texted in, and he tells me about his programs, and he's very much involved in scouting. Now, scouting used to be called Boy Scouts, but now it's called scouting because there are now girls a part of Boy Scouts. So it's girls and boys doing a really good theme behind it because I've been a scouter all my life. I remember as a small child and everything, so I have that back. I've been an adult leader in scouting. My boys have been in scouting. Two of my boys have been in scouting, so it's a very enrichment program. But it's nice to hear from another country there. Then we go up to Europe, and I've had the United Kingdom, England, Scotland, and Wales all uh, call in, and then I um, um, uh, have also England, excuse me, Denmark and Sweden. And it was interesting because that country, you think they have a perfect family unit there. And it's surprising that the same things that are happening in Europe are happening in the United States. It actually is worldwide. So it gives her, I've had from North America, I've had Canada, and I had both of the people there and stuff. So um, um, uh, the 50 states. I've had the 50 states. Um, all have called in from Rosebud Reservation to Maine to Pennsylvania to Alabama. You name it is there. And um, throughout the course of the time of talking to people, about over 500 people, I've only encountered two call-ins from social workers, which is okay. I hope more social workers come in there. But the social workers have called in. One was from Maryland, named Carol, and she talked for 40 minutes, and she told me how she perceives CPS and what they do in the Maryland, which is a lot different than the people that have called from Maryland. But maybe she's in an isolated area. She was kind of horrified to hear what I had to say, but it seems like I hear all the negativity firsthand because my family was involved in CPS too. And it was a horrific thing that my family went through. I'm talking about my whole family. It affected everybody. Who I am. I'm a loving man, a loving father. I have 6 children. I'm a family man. Family is very important to me. And I've been married 31 years. And it's been a struggle in life for me. And I think later in life, as I go older and older, and I don't think I'm older, but people call me a dinosaur. They say you're too old to do anything. But I am trying to help you all. I'm trying to be compassionate and understanding because what you're going through hurts. It hurts root deep because the things you perceive, the things you trusted. You see, um, I think I have a new calling. I really want to talk about life skills and maybe develop life skills in helping families because that's where it's all about. When you're born, you're not born with a child protection system manual or born with a marriage manual or a dating manual. I mean, all that stuff you have to learn through trial and error. Yes, there's been books written like Dr. Spock about how to raise a child, and there's been other books that people have talked about. But there's a lot of things that are missing. And our high schools at one time used to have a lot of life skills, but they've gotten away from it. You know, it's like sex education is kind of non-existent, and marriage and things like that. How to do your checkbook, you know, how to deal with CPS. That's an area that is really weak. I didn't know. I don't know. And the thing is, you're brought up and you're trusted. You study government in high school, and you study government in college, and you take a lot of government. I've taken a lot of government. And you heard about your constitutional rights, your civil rights, but the Child Protection Services violated all your rights. They they don't care. And you probably say, well, what kind of agency is this? Well, first of all, it's a corrupt agency. They have really been, I mean, they're a rogue. They have suddenly developed into an agency that needs help. Um, it's $1 trillion business. Now, I mean by trillion, not billions, not millions, but trillion. What that means is that um, they're in it to make money. And how they make money, it's very simple. The money comes from the federal government and it's dispensed to each state. And then from the state, it's dispensed to the counties. The problem being is that there's nobody controlling that money. There's no watchdog. Right now, a case in point in Kentucky, there's over $1 million unaccounted for in Richmond, Kentucky. $1 million unaccounted for. And uh, they are. I mean, I'm going to give you some examples of social workers, and I'm going to give you some other samples of there. What I need to do is I need to tell you how to interact with my podcast. Um, Before we take phone calls, it's very important that I tell you how they interact. And one of the first ways is to be in this room. That's your first step. And as you take your first step to interact with this podcast, listen, take notes, and people are hurting in here, and they really come in here and open up their heart. And I appreciate that because the child protection system isn't very friendly. They aren't supposed to do. You know, the child protection system is supposed to protect your child from what? Neglect and abuse. It's also supposed to assist families with social services, like if you need help with food, need help with medical, need help with schooling, you need help with shelter, you need help with a job. They're supposed to help you with all those things. And it's an arm of social services which gives a lot of those things. Now, on top of all that, they're supposed to do family reunification when they tear your family apart, family reunification. And that is really important because it's been studies shown that the best parents for the children, the raised children, are the biological parents, the parents that gave birth to two children. Studies after studies after studies worldwide have shown that the parents are the best parents. Yes, there are good foster parents, but there's a lot of bad foster parents. There's good other people too, but there's still a lot of bad people too. So keep that in mind that the CPS is supposed to be reunification. If your family's broken apart, or maybe you did something terrible that was neglect or abuse, it's not the end of the world. You can be fixed. There are parenting classes, there are program classes, anger management, domestic violence, alcohol treatment, drug treatment. Um, there's those classes. There's your parenting classes of how to take care of a baby, to change a diaper, to feed a baby, to all kinds of things. You're not given a lot of this stuff when you suddenly have a baby and a family. And a lot of you are struggling. You're struggling with jobs and income, and a lot of you maybe have some other issues, mental issues or whatever they may be. But it's not the end of the world. All that stuff can be fixed. We need to bring the family back. We need to have the family together. Hi, Faye. Welcome. Welcome from Richmond, Kentucky. Faye is a remarkable woman that every day I admire more and more about her, what she does. And thank you for saying hello and hoping that everybody has a blessed day. That's very sweet of you. Um, so far, it's been kind of slow, Faye, this morning, but I'm going over what you can interact with this room before I turn my phone calls on. But I was talking about the social structure that we have and how they're supposed to help us with family unification. The problem you're going to have to combat is you're going to have to combat transparencies and lies and revenge. Those are characteristics of the CPS. They're very bad characteristics, and they will deceive you. They'll bring you up and let you down. And again, as I told you earlier, they violate your constitutional civil rights all the time. There's simple things like taking your child when they don't have extreme danger, entering your home forcefully when they don't have a warrant or you didn't give permission or whatever the case may be. I'll talk about some of the things. Those are my rules. I have 5 rules that I put together. One of them was Faye's idea, the fifth rule, and I'll be talking about that. So, so anyway, the first way you do it right now is you guys are listening. There's emojis you can put up, and I'm glad to hear about that. Now, let's say you want to say something. You want to make a comment about CPS, or you want to ask a question about CPS. Again, when I use the word CPS, I mean the Child Protection System. And every state will have different, like Arizona, it's Department of Children's Services. In Kentucky, it's the Bureau. In different in California, it's the Child Protection Services. So when I say CPS, I refer to all of them. So when you have a question or comment, it's easy. All you have to do on YouTube, there's a comment section, you fill it in. Now, your name will appear. So um, I prefer if you use names that that I can understand and so forth. But I understand a lot of you don't want to because your case or whatever is there. But I also like to know the city and state or country where you're calling from so I get an idea where the pockets of good child protection systems or bad pockets are. And it's very important to be complete with your CPS case when you call in on the phone or when you type in a comment. When we make be complete, instead we have to play ping pong ball where I ask a question, you answer, then ask another question, you answer. That may take 15, 20 times. Start off by first I mean, I've divided this into three parts. The first part is, what is your family? What is your structure of your family? Is it a husband, wife, a girlfriend, boyfriend? Are you just lovers? Are you partners? Now, are you a single parent? Or are both parents involved? And then also, um, the sexes and ages of the children. I have young children, I have older children, teenagers, or whatever the case may be. And then also, you want to you want to talk about if the kids, for instance, there may be a situation where your kids have different parents. So there may be three dads involved or three moms. Or maybe the parents are gone away, they're not participating. That helps me in the beginning so I understand your case. And then also I want to know what the allegations are. Like, is this your first time with CPS or your second time? Were you as a child involved in CPS? There's something I'd like to point that out. A lot of there seems to be historically people that are children involved in CPS, they find themselves again involved in CPS. Why? I think it's because they keep records and they look you up and they think you're easy prey. They think you're easy prey because economically maybe you don't have the wealth to hire the best attorney or the way to fight this case and stuff. It takes money, and I'm sad to say that it's the hardest thing to deal with because you're dealing with an entity that is corrupt. So text those comments in. Oh, the third part of your case being complete, besides the allegations, is where you at on your case. You know. Oh, I forgot. Also, how your child was taken from your home is really important. I'm trying to make it a summary of the cases because it seems like so many parents give their child up when they ask for it. Now, I don't know if they know the law. I didn't. I gave my child up. They were in extreme danger, and they're all in school at the time they investigated me and took my children. It was really bad. It was like, wow. They weren't in danger, but they took your children. They put them in danger, by the way. They put them in danger. It was really sad. They put my children in lots of danger. They stopped their education. They fed them terrible food. They were abused in foster care. And, oh, the stories were just horrified. And not my whole family was taken, only three, my younger group. My older family at that time had moved out on their own and had wives and jobs and careers, and they were doing fine. But somehow, our incident with the young family being involved has hurt our relationship with my older kids. They're not as close. They don't talk. It's like like CPS has ruined the family. It's like we're something a stigma. We're bad because we got involved in CPS. We're a bad apple or something like that. And I know how you feel. That's wrong. You guys are beautiful people. You have a lot to do. If you're in this room, then you care about these children. You care by being here. That's why you're in this room. And so it's 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 good that you are. It is really good that you are. And so I really think it's nice that you are, and I hope that you participate in everything with comments. Now, moving on, the third way is to be a guest, and I have a show producer that helps me so much um, to do this podcast. Now, to be a guest, that means you're going to be on my show, just like I am in the picture, and talking about your case or helping others. And it's really great because that gives you affordable more time to talk and maybe bring out issues. And sometimes talking about things make you feel a lot better. Now, I know that Grace is listening to everything going on, and all she wants you to do, if you want to be a guest, is to send an email to her. Her email is grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. And all you have to do is pick one of my 14 shows. I'm on 7 days a week, Monday through Sunday, twice a day. Typically, I'm on at 10 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time and 7 o'clock at night Pacific Standard Time for 1 hour. But there are certain days and times that time may change. Like every Sunday, I come on at 8 o'clock because I want time with my family and church and so forth. So I come on at 8 o'clock before church and to do the podcast on Sunday, but that's Sunday only. Then there are times like this past week, I was taking a seminar to help me do these podcasts better, and I had to leave the show 15 minutes early, and also I had to um, start 15 minutes early, so I give you a full hour. So I give you a full hour. So this past week it was a little different. Now I'm back to 10 o'clock today, 8 o'clock tomorrow. But this afternoon I have a family commitment with my son who's in the football hierarchy of things in school, and he has a function tomorrow um, at 5 o'clock that I have to be at that goes to 10 o'clock. And I got to leave at 4 o'clock to get there. So I'm going to be doing my podcast at 3 o'clock, long if that's okay. Um, Welcome, Hotisha Harris. Hi, I love that big heart there, Hotisha Harris. And may I ask where you're from, Hotisha Harris? Oh, Chicago, Illinois. I'm so glad to hear from you. In fact, you're one of the places I talk about every day, Hotisha Harris, and I imagine you're in a case here too. We're just starting the show, and I'm talking about how they're interacting. And right now, we're on talking about how to be a guest on my show. So you pick a day, either Monday morning, Friday evening, Saturday evening, Sunday morning, whatever, and you to that an email. Again, it's to grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's grace at vincentwdavis.com. And that's the third way you can interact with this podcast. This is a live podcast, worldwide broadcasting around the world. And it involves people from all walks of life and all issues. The theme, though, is the child protection system and questions and comments pertaining to those kinds of issues. If you're caught up in it, I'd love to hear your comments and so forth. I also like you all to know that the topics and the rules and about my life and everything is open. If there's other topics in CPS you want to talk about, like the ICWA or the 388 motion or the 160 hearing or any of these other legal jargons or things like that, please bring them up. I have over, 50 tabs opened up that talk about these things, and I can look them up in your area just as easy and so forth. The internet is amazing. The internet is so amazing. It affords me to talk to a vast audience just by doing what I'm doing. Um, I'm starting to learn that and starting to sink um, in the seminar that I've been going to. So that's the third way. And um, that's the third way. Now, the fourth way, the magical way, is the people popular like this one is call in. And now I'm going to put my phone number live. It's call in at 626-698-0990. And when you call in, that's my office phone number. It's a web based program. It's called Vonage. And it's my office number, direct line to my office number. So I take that, but I only take that um, when I'm on the show. I cannot talk to you when I'm off the show. I cannot talk to you when I'm off the show. Let me go ahead and make sure that everything is fine. Since it's a web-based program, I have to make sure that my web is really, really good and so forth. Now, um, so right now, if any of you that just recently come to the room want to ask a question, feel free to call my number. It's 626-698-0990. I'll leave that up. I'll leave that up. We have one person that I not seen in this room. Well, a couple people. They usually come in there, and sometimes the notification comes out later and stuff. So, with that being said, there. Otisha Harris, since you're new and you mentioned Chicago, Illinois, I want to give you an example of a social worker from Chicago, Illinois. I have four examples of typical social workers, and they're not good. I guess you always bring out the bad of things, but everybody tells me that CPS is bad. So until someone tells me a good story about CPS, I've had a couple, but people talk to me and said, Bob, the stuff you told me helped me. My kids are back. I love those stories. So if any of you gotten anywhere with your case because of something I said or showed you, I'd like to hear that. But Hotisha Harris, there was a social worker in Chicago, Illinois, just a couple months ago that put on her webpage an ad. And the way she presented the ad gave the illusion to a typical reader like myself or other people that that's what a social worker is like. What the ad was, it was a copy of an 1848 ad that said black children for sale. Now, it didn't use the word black children, but I can't say the N word. But it was a horrific ad. It was a bad ad. And she put it on the year 2024. This woman from Chicago said, she's a social worker. And she put that on there. But I know that Faye talked to her, who's from Richmond, Kentucky, and she says she did not necessarily imply that, but the way it was presented, it implied that she didn't have any introduction or anything on it. It just made myself stick to the stomach. I don't know if you saw that, Hatisha Harris, but I find out that Chicago, Illinois, I've had several people call in that have been really bad with the social worker there. So that was one example of a social worker. Another one is my famous ones are my pink ladies. And no, they're not pink, but they were social workers, all white female social workers. And they were wearing pink t shirts. But what was unusual about what they were doing, because they were parading around in Walmart, in Costco, Target, Best Buys, on the front of the t shirt, they had stenciled professional child kidnappers. Professional child kidnappers. Now, with that being said, professional child kidnappers, it implies them that they are, and that's typically what they do. And these were eight of them, not one or two, but eight. It's a whole department of the Child Protection, the Department of Child and Services in Prescott, Arizona. So this particular agency there had these workers, but that was not good enough. On the back of the T-shirt, they said, "Do you know where your children are at?" Now I don't know what message that's supposed to imply, but most of the parents took offense to that, and I did too. Anyway, they fired the social worker. Not only did they fire those eight social workers, they fired the director of the Department of Children's Services. So nine people were eliminated out of the department, left with one person left, a guy to handle all the cases of abuse and neglect. And that's sad because those social workers had 25 um, years of experience working with children. So that is a sickening. That's your typical social worker. Now, um, that's the second scenario of a social worker. A third one I like to give is is a mother, Christina, um, who has a case involving her 15-year-old son and her 13-year-old daughter being accused of being sexual with her. Right away, he's put into jail. I don't know, the story is so bad, but they were investigating the case, and they had a person come out, a social worker investigating, and he was a male one. He went to the school to investigate the young girl, and he asked the school, "I need to speak to one of your students." And he said, "I need to speak to her alone. Could you show me a room I can be private with?" Well, that's a red flag. And if I'm a school official, I wouldn't allow a strange man going in a room that wasn't even a family member of this girl. But they went ahead and did it. That's how stupid the school was. They thought because he either had an ID or he said he was from child protection um, system that he's an okay guy. Well, I'm gonna note to everybody, when he took the girl in the room, he asked her to take her clothes off, and all she was is naked 13-year-old girl. And this guy is a pedophile. There are so many pedophiles, I'm sorry to tell you that work in the child protection system. It's a feeding ground. There's so much corruptness and so bad. So this 13-year-old had to endure this guy Google at him. So when she came home, she told her mother, she said, "Mom, today this guy took pictures of me naked." Her mother was upset and she called the child protection system, and they investigated and they fired him. He was a pedophile. But it didn't stop there. It didn't stop there. And hi, Shauna um, Broadway. Thank you for coming in. We missed you too. You can file a grievance, Hotisha Harris. I don't know what your case is about, but if you're not happy with the judge, you go to the state, and you're in Chicago, Illinois, so you go to the state of Illinois, go to the judicial branch, and file a grievance, and you can have that judge removed. You can have that judge removed. Um, the reason why you need a lawyer because everything in the dependency court is done by law, and if you're a lawyer, you know the laws. You have to be a special kind of lawyer because not all lawyers know about dependency law, family law, juvenile law. Um, but it's very hard. A court attorney is not going to help you, so don't waste your time. But uh, you do need to seek some legal advice there, Letitia Harris. And I don't know if you have a paid attorney or not. Shannon Broadway, she is from Oklahoma. She is a Cherokee Native Indian, and she's trying to fight a very corrupt uh, Indian child welfare agency in Oklahoma. It seems like the 7,700 square miles of the Cherokee Reservation has an executive director who's also the state attorney general. And there's some corruption going on, and Shannon has the documentation to expose her, but now they're trying to use leverages to take her two daughters. So she is going to share something new. I'm going to share that with the room here. It's good that you did this, Shannon. Been going through a lot worse things with my case, etc. I can imagine. But have I a if you don't follow a safety plan, they terminate rights to your child in custody. Doesn't that automatically legal consent to remove your children that have been my care legal custody? Well, when they terminate your rights, they're going to have your children. The first step you do is you don't give up your rights. And if they try to do your terminate your rights, you appeal it. You never sign anything in there. And same thing with that safety plan. You don't have to sign the safety plan. You can follow it to the best of your abilities. But then again, you need to talk to your attorney. Um, I know they have. They're doing everything against you, and the allegations are false. I believe you, Shannon. The CT plan is full of things that don't apply to cases, etc. They document the coerced me into signing last court date under desertion to lose my children. They will try to do that all the time. And you're scared. I don't blame you. But the only way you can go around that is read what they're trying to do to you. All I know is that you legally do not have to talk to social workers, and you legally don't have to let them in your home or give up your children. There's only three ways they can take your children from you. One, you give them permission. Two, you have domestic violence going on and the child is being hurt and is in imminent danger, they can take the child. And three is a court order. Now, if they get a judge to sign a court order that says remove your child, then that's the third way. Those are only three ways. But they're going to try to use tactics, scare tactics, intimidation tactics with police. And that's wrong. That's wrong. And I know what you wrote me when you sent me the emails. Um, uh, it was really touching because I know that your hand with your hands. They really are. What they're trying to do to Shannon is that the Indian tribe is corrupt. Now, this is the first time that I've heard anything negative about the ICWA, the Indian Child Welfare Act of 1978. That act was passed. And it's a very important act because the Indians, since the time they're put on reservations, starting about, I don't know, 1875 is when the Indian Wars were starting to wind down. They're starting to put people on reservations. And they started to abuse the Indians more and more, cut their hairs off, told them to not speak the language, told them they couldn't practice the customs. They had the ghost dance of the 80s. The Indians were still trying to hang in there, but it got worse and worse. Well, the number one child trafficking was the American Native Indians. They're good looking, and they were being trafficked so heavy that CPS would automatically put them in foster care, would not do family reunification. So they passed this act to say that the Indians could take care of their own. The only thing is they got to be proved. You got to be proved that that you are Indian. You either got to be registered or could be registered, and then they will turn them over to the Indian tribe. They in turn put you in a family, Indian family, to get you guys to be reunified. And that seems to work out best. But this one in Oklahoma is making me wonder because I've not really heard too much from Indian tribes. I know I'm part Indian. I'm a Lakota Sioux. I don't look it, but all I can say is uh, my great grandfather from Norway had a lot to do with my blonde hair. He was of Viking heritage, and so he's from Bergen. And my great great grandmother was a full blooded Lakota Sioux from the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota. And I had been there in the 1970s on my way from uh, one college to another college. Okay, we got someone calling in. This is Bob Payson. Welcome.
Hello, Bob. This is Shauna from Oklahoma.
Yeah, hi, Shauna from Oklahoma. What would you like to tell me today?
Well, what I was trying to say with the safety plan, in the last thing that occurred in my case, I was telling you how they pulled me in that room outside the court and coerced me to sign the document under the discretion that they would do away with all the allegation or charges against me and leave this one if I would agree to sign to it and not go to trial. And I rejected that. And then they went forth with trial until they put my son on the stand and he faked this little thing and they stopped trial and sent me back in that room with that document. And I said, it does not read what I agreed to, so I'm still not signing it. And he told me if I didn't sign it, I was going to lose my other children, that this is what the judge said to do. She is not going forth with trial. So when I went to court yesterday, my next court date was yesterday. I know that I have a court-appointed attorney, but in my mind, I'm like, I'm going to have to speak up. He's hurting me more than he's helping me. So I was able to speak up to the judge and bring up these concerns and matters. And I basically didn't get treated well by the judge, got threatened to contempt to court, and they applied this safety plan that is full of things that don't even apply to my case, and it doesn't go with the one term they forced me to sign, because the one that I was forced to sign states I did not meet my child's physical, emotional, and mental needs, which yet again I will say that is not true, and I have evidence to support. Let's not forget the Attorney General filed that motion to block that out. So they're basically being allowed to lie, falsify documents within court, and every time you deal with a judge to try to discuss these matters, you get shut up and she goes along with what they say. So their safety plan was granted yesterday. Not anything that we agreed to, even though I have proof that I recorded the conversation. And if I don't agree to the safety plan, it says that they can terminate rights to the child. We're talking about the one that's in custody. I have two other sons that they're playing with and threatening to take, and that was my question. If I did not follow the safety plan for the son that they have in custody, and they go ahead and terminate rights, does that automatically legally mean by law they have to come get the other two?
Well, I'm not an attorney on that respect. There, I've never come across that, so I really cannot comment on that. All I know is that you're dealing with the Indian. Now, was this judge part of the Indian tribe, or where was this a judge? What was this in a dependency court handling by the child protection system there, or was this the Indian tribal judge?
Well, all of our cases have been in tried. What they have done is, if anything tries to get filed within the county I live, like say it's not even me, there's other individuals that have had issues with my son that have tried to file police reports, and they will not accept them and allow them to be filed anywhere but in the tribe. And that was before they even held custody. And so everything's had to go through the tribe, and they actually removed the last judge. This judge that I have is a new one, and she's still acting just like the other ones.
Well, here's the problem. As I was telling previously in a lot of my shows, the Indians on reservation, federal government can't do anything about that. I don't know if you remember the scene they did at Wounded Knee in in South Dakota, the Lakota uprising, and they had the FBI involved. Did you ever hear about that at all?
Yes.
The American Indian Native movement. Well, what they did is that the federal government tried to go onto Indian lands. You see, the federal government doesn't have jurisdictions on tribal lands. Um, the tribe has been given sovereignty of their own land. That was the deal with reservations. Whether you're in South Dakota or you're in Oklahoma or wherever there are reservations, everything on the reservation is handled by the Indians, the police, the judges, the child protection
Right.
system. Everything is there. And you're unfortunately got someone that wears two hats. She's the Attorney General of the
Well,
state of Oklahoma, and she's the executive director of that Cherokee Indian tribe, correct?
yes, and I will tell you that I did follow what we discussed before. I have contacted the Bureau of Affairs in Washington, D.C. As of right now, I've not heard nothing back. And when I was speaking to this judge yesterday, I even asked her, Your Honor, I would like to hear from you what the legal process and resources I can have to file the grievances I need to when this court-appointed attorney that they keep forcing me to deal with is not doing anything but hurting me. And you got to understand that he's mad at me now, because the conversation I recorded, he was the one that gave me permission to record it. And when this judge found that out yesterday, she chewed him out for that. So he's even more misrepresenting me than he was. But my issue with the safety plan, Bob, is it doesn't apply to this case. The agreement was, if I signed that document, that we would have to do counseling, and that was it. But the safety plan is full of everything that controls every aspect of my life. Like, I've got to hand in every dollar I make, every receipt I spend my money on. I've got to do all this stuff that, if you really look at the 2,000 pieces of evidence I have, wouldn't apply. And I know that, it's just a situation where that things are still continuing to be done illegally within the courtroom, and you're at a standstill, not knowing what else to do. I mean, I've done everything that you even told me to do, and I'm still sitting here like, and the fear is that they're going to come try to take my other two children, who were 12 and 14, and can also state their brother has physically harmed them. You remember me telling you about the incidents of violence that my son did that they struck and hid from the record. I have proof of that. But, he hasn't just harmed me. He's physically harmed the 12 and 14-year-old that I have. And they're playing this game where they're like threatening that they're going to come get them, because in the safety plan, one of the things they're requiring of me is to get a psychological evaluation. Okay, I don't have a problem with that. My issue with it is that they've pre-selected everyone in the situation that you got to get services through that write whatever they want them to on paper. So you see, if I go to their psych doctor, he basically writes whatever they want, and then that's something they can use to go forth and take my children. I asked them if I could go to a different licensed psychologist to do an evaluation. That way we have a fair, unbiased opinion there. And I was told no. I have to go through whoever they tell me to.
Well, the problem is, if you're going to go with a program that they suggest, it's going to be one-sided. You're not going to get a fair. You have a medical insurance. Right. You can pick someone in your medical insurance, do the psych evaluation yourself, have those records. But when you present that to the court, the person that did that psychological evaluation has to be present, because it's hearsay. Just having a document is no good. You got to have the person swear to it in court.
Well, they actually put the caseworker that's corrupt on my son's case I shared with you. She's the one that gets the say-so and everything with that. If she doesn't approve wherever I'm trying to get services, it doesn't happen. And, she's an issue. She's part of the person that's corrupt in the case.
Yeah. Have you tried to go over their head? Like, is there somebody like a director? I don't know how the Indians set up their CPS system. How does
I don't know if you got
the
all
Cherokee?
the emails I sent you, but what I have found out is, you keep following those steps and going up, and every time you go up, you're finding that they've got a family member sitting in that seat that you can't seem to get above anywhere.
Have you been blunt with them and say, "What do you want from me? What do you want from me?"
Well, I tried to do that yesterday in court, and I was threatened with contempt of court if I said another word.
Well, first of all, this is the problem in a court of law. If you have an attorney present, the only way you can talk to a judge, and I'm surprised the judge will let you talk to them, is that you have to be a pro se yourself to talk in court, or ask the lawyer ask you to speak before the judge. And I'm sorry, because I'm outside, and I have a squadron of helicopters, I guess, on a mission. Okay, they're gone. Um, so what I'm getting at is that I don't know how this Cherokee um, welfare Indian Child Agency works in Oklahoma. I don't know. All I know is that there is a law that tells you what you need to do. Is if you are of Indian blood, which you've done, you demonstrated that, and your kids are registered, that you're turned over to the Indian tribe, and they in turn put you with the family. Now, have they mentioned anything about putting your kids with an Indian family?
Well, that goes back to the situation I told you that's also frustrating, that, since they've obtained, and even really before that, legal custody of my son, they say in court that, he's in a particular place going to school and he's doing well, but I also hold evidence that that is a lie. They are not making sure that my child has supervision. He's out here where I live in the same town I've got picture and video evidence, not just for me, but other people that have saw this. And they still continue to lie in court. And when I tried to bring up to the judge that, these are the things going on with my son I would like to show, she won't even look at it. It's like they know what they're doing, and it's like it's all the way up to the judge that I'm being blocked out because they know what. I don't know. It is mind-boggling for myself that this has been a year, and it just continues to get worse and worse and more unbelievable that they're going to the depths they are to cover their tracks.
Well, yeah, because it does get worse. Mine was 3 years. Um,
And the thing is like I came to the resolution, because of how they've handled the situation with my child, it's not like you could just throw him back in my home. He's a violent threat to me and my other 2 children. I have been willing to do a guardianship situation because he's almost an adult. He's fixing to turn 18. That's another thing that's ridiculous. We're not talking about a little kid here. He's almost an adult. And I just, want to be able to move forward with our life and focus on my other 2 children here. And when he gets the therapy and help he needs, we can work on that. But we can agree in therapy, he's got to get to that spot. And right now, he's abusing the system, and they're allowing him to do that, getting to do what he wants and not having a parent. He don't want to come home.
yeah. Now, your children, I thought you had 2 daughters and a son. What are your children's sexes again?
No, they are all boys.
Okay, so you have 3
The
children,
oldest,
and they've threatened to take
the,
away 2 of your boys. That they've taken away 1, but they're threatening to take away 2 of them?
yes, and the one that they have in custody right now is the fixing to be 17-year-old. And he was actually removed out of my home, if you remember, well before they ever held custody and rights. Every time I called the cops because he was running away or injuring me or someone in the household, they would remove him from my home and place him in people's home illegally. I've got proof of this. And then the minute they found out I was trying to expose those things and talking to the local news station, that's when they had a show cause hearing and got temporary custody. And before that, they even demanded him to come home himself. In February of this year, he was ordered to come home by these same people. And he did not. And they actually put him in detention for it. But I later found out that that was part of their little plan. My son even told me that. He was never going to come home, and they knew it. I guess they just wanted to make it appear that they made an attempt to reunify, knowing that he was never going to cooperate and come home.
Well,
but the other 2 children, my 12 and 14-year-old, have been in my home, my care, my custody this whole time. And they said the same things that I have of what's occurred in the home. But, 12 months later, when I'm not complying with what they want or shutting up about the situation, they're now threatening to take them.
okay. Have you looked at the webpage Oklahoma Human Services? Have you looked at that?
Yes, and they don't follow the same guidelines because of separation of state and tribe. They do their things differently, just like the government does. So the Indian ICW CPS doesn't. It's separate from the Oklahoma DHS. But some of the things I sent you in the email, some of those things are actually being exposed in Oklahoma right now, and it's actually hit the news.
Now I got 2 of your emails.
Oklahoma DHS.
Right. I got 2 of your emails, but they were just text messages or copies of text messages. Is those emails that you're talking about?
No, I just sent them like last night or this morning.
Oh, okay. I haven't looked. Okay, I'm sorry. I have not looked. That's my bad. That's my bad.
There's a couple of cases that has got the outrage of the community here of a little boy that died in one situation, and then there was another situation of a DHS caseworker that was sexually abusing the children he was dealing with and involved in child pornography.
The reason why I'm talking about that page, I'm reading their mission statement. It's improve the quality of life of vulnerable Oklahomans by increasing their ability to lead a safer, healthier, independent, and productive life. And they say that we continue to examine our use or misuse of power, use of self and personal basis. It says we must be aware of and recognize how we use the power position. Um, it is critical that families seize and believe that we're genuine, that we care. Well, doesn't sound like they're genuine or they care.
Well, it's just like the ICW. Their whole face front of their motto is keeping families together and all this stuff. And then you look at my situation and some of these other cases, just like Megan Dodd's story, that's here from where I live that you did. It's definitely an issue that needs to be exposed, but it's beyond difficult when you're dealing with the tribe here.
Well, they don't sound like they're accountable or they're pertaining to what they write on the internet. I'm reading so much that says that we conduct our work with integrity at all levels of the agency. There's a standard of excellence and cooperation. We are compassionate with one another. We have the difficulty conversations about the pain and complexity of this work. We formally provide support. I mean, have you sat there with the social worker from the Indian and showed them this page?
Like I told you before, all the evidence that I occur in this situation, and there has not been one visit or conversation with anyone with child welfare in the tribe that has not been documented and recorded. So these things have been distressed to them in these recordings.
Well, I
And
think I think what's happened is that their feathers been rubbed the wrong way. I'm not trying to say an Indian joke, but the feathers have been rubbed the wrong way, meaning that there's a group of Indians, and this is trouble with tribes. I've seen this with tribes. There is abuse of power within tribes. It seems like tribes are always trying to achieve power. And this has been going on for a long time since they started having these reservations. There's been a lot of corruptness where the leader of the tribe is given things illegally. I've seen this. There's been movies made about this. Um, there's a movie called I
I
forgot.
actually sent you in the email proof of that as well. And it was found out that the chief of our nation here, um, there is association between him and the family of this attorney general that I'm dealing with. And there's actually a news article where they were questioning funds of tribe money and things.
Yeah, they don't disseminate the money to all the tribes. There's a lot of, I guess, fictional series out there. Yellowstone touched a lot on the Indian tribe. I don't know if you ever watched Yellowstone, but that was with Kevin Costner, and it took place in today's standards with an Indian tribe that was very corrupt, very, very, very corrupt. Again, that's fictional, but imagine that there are stories about Indian tribes that are very, very corrupt. All I know is my experience with the Lakota Sioux at the Rosebud Reservation was, miles and miles of broken down trailers, yards, and Indians that were so wasted with alcohol and drugs. And it's one of the most poorest places in the country. I mean, I've seen in the Appalachian Mountains where there's a lot of poor people going on and stuff, but never to my experience of Rosebud Reservation. And it's disenchanting because what's happened is that the American Indians towards the tail end of the 1800s, uh, their pride was taken away. Their pride and the way of life was taken away. The buffalo were killed. They were told to live on these terrible places to try to grow corn or do things. And, today it's still a problem in my mind. I know the American Indian movement has tried to do a lot in the days of Russell Means, and these guys are all gone and stuff. There was that thing in the 60s and the 70s stuff. We've been trying to do a lot of things over the years, but to help you solve your case, I can't do it in this session, but I would like to try to discuss it further. But I'm going to have to curtail it because it's now my show is over, and I have to go right now. And Rose Labardo just came on. Welcome, Rosemarie Labardo, and she said some things too um, here. She said, "My daughter's home since the 14th. I'm so glad." The CPS worker did not seem to be happy about it. All they could say is, "You got your kid back." How they dropped her off, like it was nothing. They dropped her off. There was some advice I gave Rosemarie Labardo, and she did it. Stuff off, and CPS dropped her off. I never heard from the foster parent again. Even though the case is not closed to September 11th, the trauma and the pain I'll never go away with. Thank you for sharing that, Rose Marie. And then, Shannon, will you continue on? I'm going to be on early today, people. I'm going to be on at 3 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. That's 6 o'clock on the East Coast. And I'm doing my show earlier because I got a commitment with my family right after the show. So I'd like to invite you all to continue on. Hotisha Harris has been following for a long time. I'd like to talk to you again. Welcome you from Chicago, Illinois. And of course, Faye. I'm so glad you came on to be supportive, Faye. So, Shannon, um, I'm sorry for what you had to go through. There's no question about that. But will you come again, please?
Yes, I will. I'm actually probably going to end up setting to come on the show. I just got to get some things in order before I do that, so I can
Understood.
really go through the whole
Also,
story with you.
also, you need to call them every day or twice a day to the Bureau of Indian Affairs. You need to be on them. If there's corruption going on with the Crow tribe in Oklahoma, excuse me, the Cherokee tribe in Oklahoma, something has to be done. The Bureau
Yes,
of Indian Affairs is supposed to help out people that are Indian, and you're Indian. You've already registered as Indian. You are a Cherokee, and the Cherokee are proud people. And right now, it sounds like you have a tribe that's taken advantage of their connections and not being fair
yes,
with you. And I'm so sorry for that. So, you guys, you keep hanging in there, and it will come around. It's just the pain. It took me 3 years, but it is the pain. So God bless you all, and thank you for calling in, and I will see you today at 3 o'clock Pacific time. This is Bob Pace signing off.